And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're back in business with one of the rarest matchups in the entire game. It is going to be my Empire facing off against the Dwarves of King of the Dead. This is a matchup you almost never see because many of the games I do cast on my channel come from competitive play, and this is probably the worst matchup in the entire game for the Empire. And pretty much every single time you see an Empire player in a tournament, Dwarves is always going to be one of the bans. But, it doesn't mean it's not something you shouldn't practice because, let's say you find like a weird niche build that can really surprise Dwarf players. They're also not going to be used to playing this matchup. So if you can find a way to kind of tweak it and get in there and, get a win every now and then, you can certainly catch people off guard. Now, as far as the build goes, trying something really wonky. The entire front line is going to be Flagellants, which, on paper, these guys don't really have armor piercing, right? I mean, they have 37 weapon strength, which is quite nice, but if you look at the AP values proportionally speaking, I think it's 37 with like 6 of it being AP or 8. Yeah, it's very, very low. So they certainly struggle against armor, but they're all unbreakable. So Sigmar Sons, Flagellants, and the idea is that buys me a lot of time for my archers and my crossbowmen, my handgunners to shoot, while also using the Plague of Rust to soften up some of the dwarf targets. On top of that, I think the best aspect of this build so far is the double Witch Hunter. So Witch Hunters in this matchup are exceptional. They have great AP values, and despite the magic damage, even if you take 25% off 416, it's still pretty damn good. And yeah, Witch Hunter is really, really good here. In the back, we have 2 handgunners, 3 crossbowmen, 4 archers, and 1 group of demis with lances. So really just going off the deep end, I really do want to figure out a way to, be effective in this matchup. So I'm hoping this build certainly will be decent. But these guys, can wreck dwarves if they can, get in there without taking cannon fire, and we'll see how it goes. That's pretty much my whole build. And now for King of the Dead, he does indeed have a front line of dwarf warriors and warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Now, something I really wasn't expecting from him was Iron Drakes. I don't think you see him too often in this matchup, but the Iron Drakes will be super good against my Flagellants in my front line, so a little bit concerned about that. He's got Ungrim, a Runesmith, double cannon protected by Slayers, and a Wild Gyro Bomber, which of course now is pretty good, considering it has the suppression mechanic, and can do some work, and of course Thunders are always a staple in this matchup. Anyways, I'm going to be advancing here, taking a little bit of cannon fire on Gelt, so trying to juke back and forth there, and just trying not to get punished too badly, but nonetheless, the cannons of the Dowie shall continue singing into the mighty Gelt, and now I believe they've switched onto the handgunners, which are one of my few dedicated AP units. So the handgunners really taking quite a pounding there from the cannons, but it's all right. I think they haven't lost any models yet. No, those are the archers. I was like, yeah, they definitely have taken some cannonballs to the face. So I am intentionally leaving the Demogryph Knights back here. It's not the classic tactical reserve. I wanted to let the battle saturate, let it marinate for a little bit before I pull those guys out and try and really pressure into the Dwarven army. So here the Gyro Bomber is going to be shooting. Going into the Flagellants, they'll also be getting shot at by the Dwarven Thunders and taking a couple casualties here. Certainly not fun, but they got Sigmar. They don't really care. They're all good with it, man. So Flagellants will be advancing. Archers going to be unleashing some shots into the Gyro Bomber here, getting a little bit of damage, but nothing to write home about. But the handgunners will be much more effective at actually punishing the Gyro Bomber. And you can see a single volley plus a little bit of archer support. And the Witch Hunter also shooting it is able to bring the Gyro Bomber very low, which if I can take that out, that's a pretty big nerf to the finances, or at least the investment that King of the Dead put into that bad boy. So now we're going to be advancing here a little bit pig-headed, perhaps, charging into the Iron Drake. So I realized that at the last second, so I do pull back the Sigmar Sons, and I still take a lot of the damage, which was unfortunate. Maybe I should have just committed to the fight, but yeah, I think I also avoided some of the damage here. So now my archers and crossbowmen are going to be shooting in, and using Searing Doom as well from Gelt. We're going to be dropping some serious damage here on the Thunders, and honestly, not a bad situation. We got a lot of damage on those guys. So if I can effectively kind of switch my archer fire onto different targets and remove them one at a time and be very methodical, we could be okay. So I have moved the Demogryph Knights up. They're now hiding behind this little pillar back here and are going to be trying to creep up and around. And in the meantime, getting the Witch Hunters through, and the Witch Hunters are going to be shooting at I believe, the Iron Drakes. So I was trying to pick off those very elite models. But from here, we're going to be switching onto the Runesmith and the Iron Drakes, trying to get what damage we can. So Flagellants have engaged, archers just kind of shooting into the back line where they can, and my gun line is very awkward. I was having a lot of trouble microing that many gun units because, again, I had 4 archers, I had like handgunners, I had so much stuff, but here this is good. We're able to really punish the Iron Drakes, and like I said, we're getting some good, steady, methodical damage. These Iron Drakes are more or less offline. We took out 1 Thunder, and yeah, Flagellants are not trading too well in the front line. They are struggling against that heavy armor, and it's really showing here. So I tried to get the handgunners around to like creep up on the cannons, but he was privy to this and does get the Dragonback Slayers, but when the Dragonback Slayers go, I spring my trap. So the Demogryph Knights with the lances are going to be appearing from the shadows and charging in. A little bit of Last Samurai action, but Gelt is also kind of helping to keep them busy. But it looks like the Gyro Bomber might be able to get in here and drop something. Is he going to be doing that? No, it doesn't look like it. So I do lose some demi models. I lose a couple, but the Lance demis really, really do a lot of damage here. You can see I was going to do a cinematic, but I figured you guys would want to see the damage here. And it's a lot. I mean, the Lance and the AP on those guys, it really does pack a serious punch. So we are able to shut those Thunders down, which is great. And now we can rotate over and get on the cannons. Since the Dragonback Slayers are In a way, being kited by the handgunners, it does open up his entire back line for me to potentially feast on. Gelt tried to drop a Searing Doom here. I'm not really sure what I was targeting. I think I was going after the Slayers, but I just horribly misclicked or mis-aimed that. And my archer units and bow units are now shooting into the Iron Drakes here, getting a little bit of damage in, but what I probably should have been doing at this point is really making a conscious effort to fan out my archer units to make it harder for the Dwarves to shut down my centralized position, but I was so busy in the back line trying to deal with these assets. And the demis do good, 12 of 24 models still. They take out a cannon, they take out the Thunderers here, so really got to make sure to try and chase those guys off if I can. Balthazar Gelt, in the meantime, has gone over here on his mighty steed Quicksilver and is now going after the other Thunder unit, so maybe he'll be able to shut them down. It is hard to say, but of course the big issue is going to be the front line. If my front line was infallible and just held forever, you know, I would be okay, right? Like, I'd be able to get the bows and archers and eventually win the trades here, because you can see the back line for King is actually in a little bit of a bad situation. We have some guns coming back, the Gyro Bomber's taking some powder fire, which is great, and both Witch Hunters are, you know, full health, which is really important, because these Witch Hunters have a lot of ammo, and they can 100% kite Ungram and really get a lot of damage in there. So I do use the Demogryph Knights to shut down the Iron Drakes there, but we're definitely being chased very aggressively by the Slayers, so I've got to watch out. But what I should have done at this point, it was a pretty big mistake, is get the Demogryph Knights and loop back and around, get these Thunders and this cannon crew. I really need to make sure to finish off the cannons to enable the kite in the late game, because if the cannons are shooting, the kite becomes very difficult. So over here, we do have some Dwarf Warriors pushing in. I did Plague of Rust those guys and was getting some good crossbow and other fire pieces. And you can see the Dwarf Warriors do get wrecked really badly by the Witch Hunters. I think Witch Hunters are a staple in this matchup. We have a couple Flagellants still fighting, 9 right here, and now Ungram's coming in pretty balls deep. Going to be taking some fat blasts right to the face from the Witch Hunters, but looks like he is going to make some contact here, which was a little bit of a misplay letting that happen. Nonetheless, I should pull back. And here you can see I do get my Demogryph Knights into the Iron Drakes, but some of the Slayers catch up, so another misplay here with the Demis. I leave them in combat because they were an extremely essential part of my army. I should have used them to shut down the cannons and the other pieces here and just kited the Slayers. I didn't have to let that happen. Searing Doom goes down as well, and the Warriors of Dragonfire pass, and now my archers are kind of fanning out in multiple directions. I realized that my front line had faltered, but if you look at the Dwarf army, I mean, it's more or less in tatters as well. We're both very beat up here, but he is a little bit ahead on the bounce power. But the Witch Hunters hopefully will be able to finish off Ungram and get me back in this game here, because it's certainly very contested. Dragonback Slayers are pushing, but they're also taking some bow fire, but this is really nice by him as well. Dwarf Warriors are getting in here, and they are going to be able to jump on my crossbowmen, which is really bad. Because even, you know, full health crossbowmen will not defeat Dwarf Warriors. Their melee stats are just too pitiful. And here we have a little bit of firing line going on. Dragonback Slayers are being shot. Witch Hunters are able to get a ton of HP off Ungram. He's down to 2,200, and now Balthazar Gelt is just looking for a home, as the last of my troops make their valiant last stand here. Searing Doom coming down as well. Tried to time it. It was a little bit off once again. Got to get used to it. I don't use Gelt terribly often, but we do miss that, which is unfortunate. Could have done some decent damage for sure. So here the Dragonback Slayers are just rampaging amongst my back line, which is very stressful. Chasing down my handgunners, my bow units, and as a matter of fact, the other Dwarf Warriors are doing the same thing. So he's getting some really good chase here. And now the Witch Hunters are really going to be my saving grace. The Witch Hunters are the one thing that if I can pick off his characters and have Gelt and the Witch Hunters just kind of kiting and picking those good engagements, I could be in decent shape. And you can see they rip a couple shots, 1,800 HP. I Plague of Rust him. Because, he still does have some armor to help against the non-armor piercing aspect of the Witch Hunter shot. So I figured a Plague of Rust would help me get a little bit of damage on him. But I was pretty tight on Winds of Magic at this point. So from here, we do get these Spearmen. They're going to be pushing up on the hill, going after the Great Cannons. And you can see my Empire forces are kind of fanning out where they can. Witch Hunters are kiting, but like I said, the Cannons are the breadwinner. Without the Cannons here, I could probably be kiting pretty happily with the Witch Hunters, but the Cannons are really kind of tipping it into army losses with that steady fire, and that's going to be pretty much all she wrote here as the Flamethrowers do kind of close in. I get some Spearmen back here as well, but yeah, there's no way. Valiant defeat is still good against Dwarves for sure, because it's such a hard counter against Empire. Like, I've only seen this matchup won a couple times by Empire when it's like evenly matched players, but it's very rare. Like, there has to be some big misplays, but I do think there's a way. The Empire has such a diverse roster. I really think there's some things that can work. And aspects of the build I liked, I actually like the Flagellants. I thought they were decent at holding, which is nice, because State Troopers really don't do well, and the problem with Great Swords is Thunders and Cannons just wreck them so badly, it's not worth bringing. So you do have to go Chaff, which eliminates your best AP option, right? I think this build was good. I had a couple misplays with the Demis, but even if I had corrected those misplays and I could have been more optimal too with the gun and bow line. Like, I had some really bad positioning. Like, it was just so much to manage, right? Like, all these characters and a very wide army like that, and yeah, I gotta go back to the drawing board. I think we have to take out the Iron Drakes before we charge in, and maybe just keep some Flagellants in reserve. We'll do some theory crafting right now, because I learned a lot from this. I do think double Witch Hunter is the best, although Marcus Witch Hunter plus another caster might be better. Like, Gelt wasn't that useful. The Plague of Rust was cool and all, but like I just found I wasn't able to get it at the right times. Perhaps a bit of an execution thing. I think this build could win. I think it has some teeth for sure against Dwarves. As you saw, it was a good game and it was close. But yeah, let's go ahead and go to the drawing board. Well played, King. Certainly quite a bit of fun trying those matchups that are very difficult. And I will try and do that more on the channel. Try out matchups that I think are very one-sided, so we can see if we can, discover some niches and things like that. Because Empire is like a really good faction to be good at, like to practice, because they only have like 1 or 2 bad matchups. You have like the Dwarves, for example, and let me see who else is like bad for Empire. Yeah, Dwarves is pretty bad for Empire, like a hard counter. Aside from that, I mean, I feel confident against Skaven. A lot of Empire players don't, but I certainly do. Yeah, like really Empire, I suppose some people don't like playing against vampire counts. Like they're quite good against a lot of factions, which I think Empire is a really good faction if you're like looking to multiplayer. They're hard to play, but if you can figure it out, man, and master them, they're really good. Marcus would be great. He gets snipe artillery pieces and the characters, and the nets will help against slayers. Definitely have to have a witch hunter. I think he's solid. Now, as far as the magic goes, maybe something to snipe dwarven cannons. Nets, I wouldn't really opt into bringing. Fire is pretty subpar. Gotrek actually wouldn't be bad, or Felix. Felix would actually be decent here, but like then you don't have a caster, and that just becomes so janky. You know what? Probably Shadows, because Pendulum is just so good against Dowie, like against like Dwarf Warrior lines and Thunders and things like that. I think he would probably be the way to go. Put him on a horse so we can get those good pendulums. Now on the front line, I still think the Flagellants are probably the way to go, but maybe we tune it down a little bit and just get like some swordsmen. Like bring like 2 of those, and we bring Sigmar Sons in the center. And that's gonna like allow us to spend. The archers were okay. What is their AP proportions? Only 2, and crossbowmen have 6. So crossbowmen probably better if we're gonna go that route. So maybe like 4 of those and like 3 handgunners. I think that's gonna like be fine. And then you can mix in, or you could even get 2 of those and mix in like Stirland's Revenge. They have good AP values. The range on the handgunners is so much better though. Yeah, we'll get the handgunners. All right, so this is kind of our template. I think this is good because we could snipe the characters much easier. We have less archers and missile units to manage. We do need some mobile pressure. The demis with lances were okay, but I'm starting to think maybe like some Empire Knights would just be better, like for just causing disruption and cycle charging, because like you just need a roadblock really, more so than anything. For you, do we want any of the items? Not really. Reduced power recharge rate, we don't care about that. Fleet-footed is all right, but he can already kite most dwarves, so it's not going to be a problem there. Maybe we cut down on like 1 crossbowman. What else could we possibly need here? It'd be nice to have like some sort of an AP unit that you like keep in the shadows. Another way to play against dwarves is to go full artillery. So you just bring like 4 cannons and try and force them out and like kite them that way. But I'm trying to think of something different that's a little bit unexpected is what the word I'm looking for here. So if we cut 1 crossbowman, what does that open up for us? I think that gives us 2 chaff units. We could just go with like some spearmen, which of course spearmen aren't going to win any beauty contest, but it gives you more like of a buffer against the dwarven advance and buys more time for your missiles. I think this build could work actually. It depends. You'd have to play pretty perfect, not make too many mistakes, but I think the demis aren't worth it. They're too big of a target for dwarves to focus, and I think the Empire Knights would be better. Not as much damage, but in terms of disruption, just having more presence, I think it's good. Anyways, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this game. And let me know if there's any other matchups you guys want to see that we almost never see, and I'll do my best to get them done. Thanks again for watching. Well played, King. We'll see you guys on the other side. Take care.